Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the this and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good.
Hello, everybody. It is that time again. I'm your host, D to the J with a roll away, and it's time for My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 60. Goodness gracious, I reckon. 60 reasons to watch the show, 60 reasons to not go. All right, so today, I've been waiting on this one because we had to schedule it and get it right. This lady over here, she's a firecracker all by herself. And as I said in the profile earlier when I put out the flyer, one thing she knows how to do is to get stuff done. I am so happy and so privileged and so honored to be able to have Miss Shannon Minnick with us today on Let Go Radio on Facebook Live. We are affiliated with Kelly's Choice Inc. Miss Shannon, thank you for being here today. How are you?
I'm great, DJ. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into this one, y'all. Like, y'all ever unwrap a present and somebody put like 2 layers of wrapping on it and you just trying to tear through it to get to the meat of the issue? Talking to this lady over here is always like the stuff in the oven that always takes forever to cook, but when it comes out, it's always like you just can't get enough of it. She's so phenomenal. Her story is so inspirational and amazing. Welcome all those that are coming into the show right now. Please do us a favor, leave us a comment, share the show as you go through. We are live on Facebook. We are live on www.letgoradio.net. And I'm going to throw it over to Miss Shannon. Miss Shannon, for those of us that do not know you, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and share what you would like, and we'll get into the show that way.
Thank you, DJ. So as DJ said, my name is Shannon Minnick. I'm the deputy director now. It's taking some time for me to get used to saying that, but the deputy director of the Center for Independent Living here in the state of Maryland. We serve Prince George's and Montgomery County. I am also the coordinator for Miss Wheelchair DC. I am the assistant coordinator for Miss Wheelchair Maryland. And I'm a mom. I have 2 daughters. They are 23, and the oldest one says that she's 30, but she's clearly 32. But I have 2 kids. I just had a birthday, so I'm 51, and I've been celebrating. And I'm going to be celebrating all month turning 51 because coronavirus has put us back a little bit. I didn't get to celebrate my 50th birthday, but I'm doing it up this year. And I'm just your regular girl.
I love that. I mean, and to be honest, to you celebrate life, and that's something that you should do. Let me ask you this: what is the difference in a deputy director and a director? Let's talk about that just a little bit, because I know you said it takes some used to getting used to saying that. What is that all about? How did that happen?
So it's taken me some time to get used to saying it because I came to Independence now 7 years ago, and I started off as an independent living specialist for Montgomery County, and then I went into the Maryland Youth Leadership Forum, and then I became the director of Independent Living Services, and now I'm the deputy director of the organization. And so instead of being director of one program, I'm like the right hand of our actual executive director.
Now, see, that's not just a promotion. You up there. You
Yes.
But see, you said something. See how you started out. You got to put in the work, and you've definitely put in the work. What does that mean to you to be in the promotion that you're in right now?
Now there's never been a deputy director, so it was, like wow when our director came to me and said that she wanted me to fill this position. It was like, okay, where did this come from? I've never heard of, a deputy director of Independence Now, and she's never had one in the 12 years that she's been there. But obviously, I've worked very hard, and I work hard at what I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem, I don't know how to explain this, but it really doesn't seem like I'm doing anything different because I've been doing this from day one.
Right.
When I came into Independence Now, I knew that I wanted to have my hands in what the youth were doing. So
Right.
I became part of the Maryland Youth Leadership Forum. And I'm part of, many, organizations. I have spinal cord injury. I'm a quadriplegic, paralyzed from the chest down. And so I knew that I wanted to still be a big part of that community. And so as working at Independence Now, I have still, have my hands in being part of United Spinal DC and United Spinal, the national chapter, because it's important, right? There's nothing for me without me. So I have spinal cord injury. I have to be in there learning what's going on every day and figuring out where I can be the most helpful. So for me, being the deputy director, it's a title. I've been doing this work. I love it. And although I will be learning, other things outside of just doing the everyday stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like, funding and how to organize the bills. And I do my everyday bills at home, but it's a whole nother story when you're doing things for a huge program like
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I'll be learning some of that stuff, which is going to be new and exciting as well.
And I love how I think the most amazing thing about this is I heard you say it 3 times. I love what I'm doing. And so many people do something because they think they have to, or it becomes a job to them. When you love what you're doing and you have passion in what you're doing and you see a future in it and you dig for it and you drive for it and you're motivated by it, that's those moments where you go, yeah, she wants it. She wants it. Because you've always been to me about people succeeding. But you've got to work to get what you want, and you've got to succeed by putting in the effort. It doesn't get handed to you. And I love that.
Yes, it doesn't get handed to you. And, I have a great staff. And, when the pandemic started, we all were like, oh, wow, what are we going to do? But, our executive director, Sarah Basehart, like, she has a big heart. And she loves what she does. And, we put our heads together,
Mm-hmm.
and the IL team, they just, they knew that our community still needed us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had to figure it out, and we did. And I tell you, my staff is wonderful. I'm probably going to say it 1,000 times because, they have ran seminars, like some months 20 a month, to make sure our consumers were busy and not feeling isolated. And, when the CARES Act money came, we immediately started getting computers and things computers for those who needed it, but Chromebooks mostly,
Mm-hmm.
for our consumers who didn't have access to doctor's appointments, Zoom meetings, families, friends, and then going into, calling the nursing facility saying, hey, we're here. What do you need? How can we help? And we got a lot of those folks Chromebooks so they can, continue some type of life.
So I want to go back because I have so much I want to ask you in an hour show. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Josh. Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys to death. I want to go back a little bit. Now, you said, you have a spinal cord injury. You're a quadriplegic from paralyzed from the chest down. Can you talk a little bit about in dealing with your injury, when you decided that you wanted to, or how you came into being the leader that you are, and just when did it like dawn on you that enough is enough? I've got to do something with what I've got, and the people need it.
So, DJ, I think that I've always been a leader. I've always been a leader. I've always taken care of people. When I was younger, I was the one that babysitted the kids and the younger kids in the family. So I think I've always been a leader, always been, a loving, kid and I actually wanted 5 kids. I only had 2, but so I wanted a big family. And so when I had my injury, I think it was an awakening moment from God.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my injury, I'm laying on the ground, and I remember seeing a woman in a black suit of some type with some white ruffles and a Bible in her hand. And she was just praying over me, telling me that it was going to be okay. No one else seen this person. I've always asked, right after my injury, who is the woman? Where is she? I want to thank her because she got me through the toughest moment of my life.
Wow.
And it was God, And so I truly believe that, I wasn't going in the direction that God wanted me to go in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had to slow me down. And he had to redirect me to where he wanted me to be.
Mm.
And so I truly believe in my heart that the only reason that I have been able to survive, spinal cord injury is because of my personality and my will to, be where God wants me to be. And I know this is where he wants me to be. Because if he didn't, I wouldn't be so happy doing it.
You said you weren't going in the path that God wanted you to go. Was it the hustle and bustle, the job, the run, go, move all the time, never stop?
Yep, all the time, never stop. And I'm still that way. I'm always on the move. My family and friends tell me all the time, Shannon, you have to slow down. Mm-hmm. But this is what keeps me alive. Mm-hmm. I know that there's someone out there waiting for me to be part of their lives, to teach them and educate them on how to redirect this whole situation that is a new situation.
Right.
So how do I deal with my current situation, and what is it going to look like, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
And even so, like people that were born with their disabilities, they come to me and say, girl, how you do it? And, we have these conversations, and it's just redirecting people,
Right.
What do you want for you? Not what your mom want or your daddy want or your boyfriend want.
Mm.
What do you want for your life? Because, see, if we're not doing what we want and we're trying to please everyone else, there's going to be failure.
And I just want to touch on that, and I'm so glad you went there. Because a lot of people don't see that they're doing it for others. They think that it's their life. But when they realize that they're not doing what they really want, that they're not finding their passion, they're busy finding everybody else's passion. How do you see that moment, or what are some of the things you do to redirect, to get them to see? Is it listen, do you realize what's happening? Or is there a direct kind of, not smacking the face, I want to say, but sometimes it's a kick in the butt. Sometimes it's a wake up call. Sometimes it's what is it for you where they go, man, I can't believe I didn't see that?
Sometimes it's just understanding, are you willing to kill yourself to make someone else happy? Are you willing to live and make yourself happy? Whatever that is, so getting up. So I try to tell people so much, give you a couple of examples, like directed plan services. So sometimes people say, how can you direct your services if you can't get yourself up out of the bed? You have a mouth. You can say, today, this is what I need you to do to help me. It's not what you want to do to help me. If I'm paying you, which if I'm directing my services, I'm paying you. That means you are to do as I need for me, not what you feel is best for you.
Right.
Or, so when you start thinking about where you are in your life and setting up some real goals, some reachable goals, and I tell people all the time, don't set up goals that you're not going to reach. Be honest with yourself. So it's like saying, okay, I want to make $1 million in a year. How many people make $1 million in a year? You have to be reasonable. What can I do today that is going to change my situation in 30 days, in 60 days, maybe 6 months? So just trying to, create a plan and figuring out what exactly it is that you want, make them reachable goals, and, know that, like my daughter, she just, she it has been 2 years that she's been out really on her own, where she has rented her own place. And it's like, okay, so this is the first step, so you have to think about where you want to be in a year. What do you want to be doing in a year? So this might not be the ideal apartment for you, but this is what you can afford today.
Right.
So now you start building for what you want next year. Now, don't think that, building is just talking, because you have to save your money if you want something better.
Listen, folks, listen.
So, it's like saying that I want to buy a car, but I'm not saving any money. So we have to really think about what it is that we want, and then what are those little steps that we can make to get to what we want.
Let me ask you this, Ms.
And
Shannon.
sometimes it's knowing versus what you want and what you need.
Right, and that's you kind of went there before I even asked the question, and I like that because you kind of know where I'm going. Do you believe that each day you can make a different impact or a better impact? Because you're given the chance each day to succeed. Each day has succession. I don't think it's. I don't want to say people look at it as so big. Sometimes you got to break it down. You talking about the goals. It's little individual steps that you take to make it to the bigger steps, to make it to the biggest steps to accomplish the goal. So the reason I asked that, do you believe that each day people try to push too hard? I mean, to get there in a day where you don't need to get there in a day. You know what I'm saying?
So you don't need to get there in a day, but the important thing is you set up a goal, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps of how you're going to reach that goal. That is the best way to go. Start your journal. What do I want to be doing? And then when you get to that page in that journal and you haven't done it, that means you're not making the correct steps to get to where you want to be. And that's nobody's fault but your own. So we have to stop putting the blame. Well, I couldn't do it because my mom said, or I couldn't do it because, it could be a million reasons why. But, just try to, I would say those little goals, those small goals. Okay, today I want to get up at 6 o'clock and start my day. Now, you might not get up at 6 o'clock. Maybe you get up at 7. But hey, you've been getting up at 10 and 11 o'clock. So 7 is an improvement, right?
Right.
And so you continue to work on it until you're at the point where you want to be. And I'm saying time because it's so easy, to accomplish getting up at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning if you really wanted to.
The thing that I love about you is you mentioned something that I love to talk about, and that's time. I've heard thousands of people say, including myself, I don't have time for this. I tell you, when Miss Winnie broke it down and showed me how to schedule out my life, and when I say schedule out my life, I got my planner sitting on my bed right now, because I realized that yes, I'm operating 20 things, but I'm also scheduled out time for those things. And now that I'm training again and getting ready for karate tournaments, I got to get up earlier. I got to get more time out of the day. How much sleep do you really, really need? 8 hours.
8 hours.
8 hours. Sometimes I get 8 hours in 30 minutes. Sometimes I get 9, but
So DJ, and I'm gonna say this, and it is just, it's not just me, it's everybody.
Right.
If I go to bed at 11, I need to be out of the bed by 7. If I stay in the bed until 10, it changes my whole day. My body hurts. I'm exhausted. I don't know, why am I feeling this way? And so I've changed, it's hard right now because I'm not just getting up every morning to go to work, but I try to get out the bed the same time every day. I try to eat the same time every day, and I just feel so much better. These are the little things that we can change in our life that will make a difference in how we feel.
And that routine, that schedule, when you start dieting, if you want to manage weight, if you want to manage fluid control, if you want to manage how you go to the bathroom, when you got a disability and your body's on a regular schedule, you got to go when you got to go.
Yep.
And but see, what you're talking about, it's manageable. You're making life manageable because it's structured. And when your life is kind of in chaos and you're trying to figure stuff out, it makes it, those stress levels and those things that you cause upon yourself, high blood pressure, diabetes, insomnia, you can cause insomnia by your daggone self. And I'm like, wow. So you have to kind of restructure your thought process, and it all starts up here. Now, I got a question for you, because you said something about, how did you learn to be honest with yourself? Because for a lot of people, that's a hard thing to do. Woo! I said, sorry.
So I want to think is my upbringing. Like, folks were so brutally honest, even when they shouldn't have been, about things. And so growing up, I kind of taken on that brutally honesty. And I try to scale back a little bit, because sometimes people back off me because they think that I'm being mean. And I don't want to come and like, now you hear the aggression in my voice. Right. It's because I'm passionate about what I'm saying, what I'm doing. It's not that I'm yelling or I'm fussing. And part of it is I'm a quadriplegic. So when I talk, it comes from the gut. Right. Because I gotta push, more to get it out more than the average person. And so I've learned to do that, and I do it all the time. So I'm not being mean or, really aggressive. But if you listen, if you take away what you're feeling about how I'm saying what I'm saying, and you listen to what I'm saying, you're going to be like, oh, wow. She just she just put me in my place, and I just think it's just a way of life. I just always been one. Now you'll see sometimes that I'll just sit back and not really say much, because I'm thinking about what you're saying. Right. And and sometimes I won't comment because I know that you can't accept what I'm going to say. So I'll wait until one of those friendly conversations that we're having, and I'll be like, girl, would you know what you said? That's not right. We got to get it together. Like, if we sit around and we wait for folks to hand things to us, and you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out. You're going to miss the conversation.
I love this, because when Shannon was just talking, and I'm going to say this out loud and live, I had to learn to take notes when Shannon talks, because when I first met her, I'm like, just like she just said, I looked at it as, this woman gonna bite my head off. And you it's not that way. if I would have taken what she said and looked at the situation and not went, why is she so aggressive? But once we talked about it and she and I realized, I had to change my thought process. And this is why this is so powerful, because I realized what she was trying to do. When somebody loves you and somebody cares for you, I'm trying not to get emotional, but when somebody loves for you and somebody cares for you and they see that you're struggling, the struggle is real. We all struggle. And if she can sit there and I notice her face turned to the side and she just got a hand on her chin and just watching, see, that brain is turning. And what she does, she takes what you say and she's going to ask you a question. And it's probably going to be something like, do you really want to change it? And you're like, the world? That's a real question, because I think the honesty that she's talking about, a lot of people are afraid to get to that state because it breaks you down. Not in a bad way, but it gets rid of all the crap that you're dealing with, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? I love that, because that's when she gets down to the real rawness of the issue, and you're like, ooh, that hurt a little bit. It's okay. Rub some dirt on it. Get up and go on. Because you know what? You got to hurt to heal.
Yeah.
And I think but I don't think people always think, this person is against me or this person is trying to hurt you. Not when it comes to Miss Shannon. You got to look past, like she said.
Listen, DJ, I'm aggressive in everything I do. I'm singing happy birthday aggressive. You know, I am an aggressive individual. And I think that's why I get the job done. Because me being aggressive is pushing me through the pain. It's pushing me through the agony. It's pushing me through the worries. I get frustrated sometimes. Like, so on my social medias, I get a lot of inbox messages. Well, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And, I don't want people to think that I'm Superwoman. And I tell them, when people put stuff on social media, they're not saying, oh, today is a hard day. I just can't. I don't know what I'm going to do to get through the day, or I crapped on myself, or I failed, or my catheter came loose. We don't talk about that stuff on social media. I'm talking about how good my day is today, and what I am doing, today in this moment. And it's usually good things. And that's what people usually share on social media. And so we have to understand that just because I have some good days don't mean I don't have bad days. Like, there are many bad days that I have, but I'm just not putting my bad days on blast. Sometimes I'll say, oh, my back is hurting today, but I really don't go into the details of really what's going on. So you may see me water scan. Believe me, after I finish water scan, girlfriend is on her butt. I'm trying to sleep. Get me home because I'm exhausted. And also the fear in water scan for me, because I'm afraid of water. So the fear of doing that, but I know that I need to overcome the fear. I know that I'm safe because there are people here that's going to make sure that, I don't drown. So, but I don't say all that. I don't say, oh, girl, I was scared to death. I was out of my mind. What I say is, wow, another goal accomplished.
Yes. Two things. You and Miss Winnie Wilson, you don't speak negativity in your life. And I've had to learn. This life is a learning experience, folks. Nobody knows everything because this stuff don't come with a manual. And I never met a person like Edwina Wilson. When she says, I don't speak negativity in my life, she literally will not speak it. Like even if I start. And when I first met her almost 5 years ago now, 2022 will be 5 years. Lord, I'm getting old. I'm just saying, I had to learn. I changed my thought process. Now, I like what you said, and I want to go back. I'm not going to put stuff on social media. You can have a bad day. And I'll admit, I've put social stuff on social media in the past that I shouldn't have. But the thing about what I like is that you turn the negative into that positive, just like with the water skiing. That's why I said two things. Talking about doing things in fear. Another one, Miss Winnie. Y'all too parallel. I'm trying to tell you that trying to get.
I love Winnie.
You both do it in a way that's positive, but people see it and they go, "Dang, how do they do that?" That's a blessing in itself. The reason I'm commenting on those two things is because I want to ask you, going back to when you were laying on the ground and you talked about you saw the woman in the black suit and you were asking, who this woman was, and nobody saw her, and you know that it was God. And when you can admit that you weren't on the path that you were supposed to go, I think that's the life-changing moment right there. Mm-hmm. When you can come to the grips with who you believe in up here and yourself, and you go, "No, we're right." And you laying on the ground now. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I would have been saying I'm not on the right path if I'm laying on the ground. I'm just saying.
So I don't think at that moment that was what was in my mind, but I always knew that God had something different for me than what I was doing, and I just didn't know. And remember, the plan for my life is already created.
That is
right, and so he knew what I was going to be doing at 19. He knew I was going to be on the corner of 14th Street fighting 10 girls at one time. He knew, and I've always had this aggression, and I've always been, like a leader. And so he knew, what I was going to be doing and how I was going to be doing it, and he knew how he was going to change it. And so at that moment of me being on the ground, I just knew in my heart something was different about this woman. And so when I asked for her, I knew that, who she was and why she was there. She was there to save my life. And I want to say she came back to me many years later when I was on my deathbed. She came back to me. And she said, "Do the surgery. You're going to be fine."
Wow.
Because I wasn't going to do the surgery. And she was like, "Listen, do the surgery. You're going to be fine." I could see my family.
That is, wow.
He just, I know this is the way I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. That's powerful in that, because it's that realization. Things don't happen by coincidence. They happen because God allowed them to happen at his time. And just going into this, man, this 30 minutes going by fast already. Man, so I want to talk about this first because I'll be honest. We kind of both have been down this path in driving, and I'm again, I know you just got your license, and would you just tell just a little bit of that story, and how that came to be, because I think that was a real struggle for you.
It was. So I was in a car accident. So I've always been, so even as a child, I knew that I was going to be in a car accident that was going to change my life. So I didn't know that I was going to be a quadriplegic. I didn't know any of that, but I knew I was going to be in a car accident.
How did you know?
I don't know. I just knew. And so whenever I would get into a car, I would instantly get sick, like vomiting, and so sometimes, my grandmother, we would have to get out of a cab, and because I'm I'm ready to start vomiting. And so I always had like this uneasy feeling about, someone driving me, around. And so I think after my accident, you know, it intensified. Like I was like, oh my God, only my kid's father can drive me. And so for a long time it was that way until, now I want to be independent. So I can't have him driving me everywhere. So I had to get used to, Metro Access and, other accessible entities in our area.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tried to drive probably 5 years into my injury, and I just couldn't do it. And I would say the driving teacher wasn't the best for me. The teacher, he probably taught many how to drive, but he wasn't like, we weren't a match. And so I stopped. I was like, I can't do this. And so for years, I didn't, visit that. And so, but then I decided, okay, I want a vehicle that, my sister can drive me or friends can drive. So I started going through the process at Department of Rehab Services because they have a program that if you're working or in school, that they can help you with modifications on a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I'll do that. And so, years of trying to get it done. And then it came down that it was being approved. And so I got an email from my counselor and she said, so Shannon, if we approve this for you to be a passenger, it will be 10 years before we will approve another modification for a vehicle for you. So you need to really think about if this is what you want. Do you want to drive? And I think within 24 hours, I emailed her back and said, and I don't want to wait 10 years. This is a goal that I have been wanting to do for a long time. And this is the time for me to do it. I'm not going to wait 10 years. And so she said, okay. She said, you got to start the process. And I did. I called the medical review board and I said, hey, I want to drive. And they sent me forms to get filled out by my doctor. And this was like, right when the pandemic started. No, a couple of months. Because, it was a couple of months because I went to school and I stopped my driving. So here in Maryland, you have to do the in-class driving, and then you have to do, the actual driving on the road. And so I did the class, and so she was like, okay, so we're going to pay for your classes, and you got to do X, Y, Z. I didn't have time for that. I knew I wanted to do this. If I was going to do it, it had to be now. So that's one thing about me. Like when I make up my mind about something, like I have to start doing it now. Like I have to start putting together the steps to reach this goal. And so I paid for my own driving school. I went, and I tell you, my last day of school. So the teacher had been showing so many videos of car accidents, and I would sit there and I would cry. And I'm in class with all of these T-Bops. These young people, they're like 20, 17, 18. These are young people, and here I am, 50. So I'm in there with them, and they just looking, and I'm crying, and they probably like, what's wrong with that lady in the wheelchair? She always crying. So the last day of school, I said to my teacher, I said, can I address the class? And so she said, sure. And I told her, what I was going to say to them.
Y'all get ready, because this.
So she said yes. And so I told them, I said, you're very young. And, being young, you really don't think, about what you are doing and how it could really affect your life. I need you to think when you get into a car. It's real when they show you videos of people texting and being in a car accident and killing a family of four. And you have to live, because usually you live. You have to live with the fact that you just killed an entire family. I was in a car accident. I wasn't driving. I was in the back seat. I was sleeping and I woke up on the ground, paralyzed from the chest down. I said, if only the person who was driving the car was aware that he was tired and that he shouldn't be driving, I would be walking today. So when you see me cry, I am not only crying for those folks that you see, that you perceive that are not real. I'm crying for me. I'm crying for you, because this could be you, because it is me. And so those babies cried because they knew it was real. You know, when it's in your face and you see it, it's one thing, but when it's on a TV, it's another thing. And so they understood why I was in there crying every time one of those movies, those videos were showed. And, you know, they understood. And so I'm hoping that in sharing my story, which I'm going to tell you, DJ, I don't really share that story. That's something that I don't really just go out and tell people. When I meet kids, you know, I say, hey, and another thing is I didn't have on a seatbelt. I didn't. That seatbelt could have saved me. And so I told them this, you know, you can get in the car with somebody. They don't have to be drinking. They don't have to be smoking weed. It can be 9 o'clock in the morning and they are just exhausted. And it only takes a second to make a mistake, and it would change your life forever. Not only the person that was hurt, but you. And if you're hurt, it will change you drastically, and you can't go back. I can't change my situation. I can only live my life to the best of I can to live and be here to even speak to you about this. It takes a lot for me to say this, but so yeah, I don't talk about this to people really. You know, when I tell the story, I say, you know, I was in a car accident. I didn't have on a seatbelt, so please wear a seatbelt. And I stress that to, you know, just the other day, 2 little kids was in the park with their dad. I usually see them with their mom, so they ran over to me. Why are you in the park again in your wheelchair? Why don't you just walk over here? And so I'm laughing and I'm talking to these 2 little kids, and the dad is like, leave her alone. What are you guys doing? And so I'm like, they see me all the time, so they know me. You must be dad. And so I had the whole conversation with them about my wheelchair, what it is, why I need it, and why I'm in it. And so the little girl, she looked up to her dad and said, Dad, see, you should wear your seatbelt.
Ooh.
You see? And so, you know, and you know, it's the littlest thing that telling your story can be so powerful. I tell it to kids all the time, but I never, you know, that day, you know, with those kids, I went into detail of what happened and why it happened.
Man, I'm sitting here. Y'all gotta understand
Crazy.
What this just had on me. I've had my license since 2003, since I graduated. I've been behind the wheel. My first day behind the wheel, I'm driving home. I'm doing great. Drove home, no problem. Went to park. My parking space was on a slant. I'm going to park my car. My foot slides off. I hit the gas and the brake at the same time. Go through my flower bed and do $3,000 worth of damage to my house.
But you know what, DJ? You'll never do that again. You've learned.
I did not. It was because of Miss Winnie. It was because of Miss Winnie. Miss Winnie asked me. She said, daggone it. She said, all I want you to do is try. I said, Miss Winnie, I can't. I said, every time I get behind that wheel, I see my van hitting the house. And I see a little girl running in front and me not stopping in time. I said, what if I take her life? She said, DJ, that didn't happen. She said, it could have, but it's in your head. I know you're thinking about it. So I got evaluated, gosh, 8 months ago to drive again by a driving specialist that also majored in psychology.
Oh, that was nice.
For 6 months, Dr. Cohen drilled this. Because this right here is where it sits. It sits in y'all. Who, Jesus?
Yeah, you know, I know your pain. I know what you feel. Like I wasn't behind the wheel, but I've just had this fear. And you know, when I did make the decision, you know, all the way up to the morning that I went to Fredericksburg, because I spent the whole week in Fredericksburg, and I had to kind of fight because I'm doing my actual behind the wheel during COVID. And so the driving teacher said, stay home for 14 days. I'm gonna stay home for 14 days and we're gonna be good because we know that, you know, we're good. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. And so I did my my driving right in the middle of COVID. Dead smack in the middle before, you know, they were coming out with vaccines and they was talking about it, but they hadn't given it yet. And so, you know, that morning, me going to Frederick, the driver had to pull over because I was vomiting. Fear, you know, it's here, it's fear. And so, you know, he let me out the van and he was like, Shannon, are you sure? And thank God I knew the person who was taking me. And so I was like, I'm sure, like, I have to do this. Like, it's down to the wire now, you know? So I get in the car and we get there. And so this was when we had that big snowstorm. And Frederick, in Maryland, there was no snow on the ground. It was little snow, you know, we're used to that. But when I got to Frederick, I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to drive in this. Like it was inches of snow. And so he called me and the teacher, he said, well, go to the hotel and I'm going to pick you up from there around 12 because the parking lot that we're going to should be clear. This is my first time behind the wheel in many, many years. So I said to him, well, I'm going to go to the hotel, but I don't think no parking lot going to be clear by 12 because it's a mess out here. He was downstairs at 12 o'clock to pick me up, and I was driving in like 6 inches of snow.
Let me say this because I've gotta. Because if I don't say this now, I don't know if I ever say it. I don't know if I've ever said it on the air. And it's because if she can tell a story like that. So I'm sitting there and Dr. Cohen comes to meet me and all this, and we've emailed and we've talked, and I'm sitting in my hands, I'm doing this, I'm holding the wheel. He looked at me. He said, stop going back. You got to stop going back. You keep reliving it over and over and over. And that's exactly what I was doing. Every time I would get behind the wheel, I would lock up. He said, start the car. Oh, I start the car. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. And he said, no, he's with us. We're all right. He said, all I want you to do is take a breath, clear your mind, and think 2 words. And when he said this, I'm like, what? He said, take a breath, clear your mind, and think, why not? I said, why not? Why not? What do you mean, why not? And I'm sitting in there. He said, put your hands at 10 and 2. Boop, boop. I'm like, he said, back up. I was okay. I'll back up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving down the road. Why not? What the hell do you mean, why not? Driving, braking, gas, and turning. I'm like, why not? What are you? Holy crap, I'm in the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it dawned on me at that moment, he goes, what happened to you? I go, Dr. Cohen, I just realized something. So I pulled the van over to the side of the road, put the thing in park, and I go, I didn't get my accident driving. I got in my accident freaking parking. He goes, He goes, so what did you just realize? I turned, I said, why not?
Yeah, why not?
When you let that stuff go and you've been holding on to it since you were 23.
Fear is something else.
23 years old. I'm 39. I held on to that joker all that time. And he said, what happened to you? I said, I didn't get my accident driving. I got it parking. He said, how many parking lots are normally slanted? I said, not many. He said, okay. So we drove. And he said, how do you feel? I said, don't talk to me right now. I'm just driving. He said, hit the brake. I hit the brake. He said, hit the gas. I hit the gas. Hit the brake. Hit the brake. So we're driving and he screams, stop. And I'm like, boom. When I hit that brake and my man says, stop. And he goes, did you hit anything?
Yeah.
I go, no. Did you hit anybody? No, but I wet myself. He said, but you are. He said,
I think I wet myself.
he said, how do you feel?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know. But so we get back and the driving session is over. He said, park it. I sat there for 5 minutes. Thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. So I hit my gear shift, put it in drive, rolled over, edged it. Kid came flying through. Boom, and I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
He said, see?
Yeah.
You have CP. You ain't dead. He said, your brain thinks.
Right.
Your brain thinks.
Very
You're
well.
all right.
Very well.
I parked that joker. And I'm going to tell you, I was covered from here to my toes in sweat. My pants felt like a bathing suit, and I had gained 20 pounds, not to mention the pee. But I'm going to say, that right there, what you're talking about, that fear held me.
Yeah.
For over 15 years, it held me for almost 18.
Do you know how many people that fear has them caught? And until, they bump into someone like me or someone like you, or, until they bump into that person that has been there, it's going to be a difficult time. Or they see, a video like this. And so, and DJ, I'm so proud of you and Shayna, because so some people may say, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just, talking, but people are listening to you guys. So this is live now. You know how many people are going to listen to this later, and they're going to be like, wow, this is advocacy. This is, helping the community. And so, and I hope Shayna knows, how proud of her that I am, because, I remember when I first met her and she was like, well, what can I do? What do I do? Everything. And she's doing everything. I'm so proud of her. I don't know if she's here, but
she is. She's been on it. She's actually been on it. Shayna's my rock. That girl's like a sister from another mister. And we talk, and she talks about you several times. But I'll be honest, I don't drive a lot. I don't drive a lot. I don't drive on crowded roads. I don't drive a lot in traffic,
Yeah.
but I can.
But you can.
Understand?
And so I haven't actually, I've got my driver's license. I've, completed all of the driving. But now I'm in that process of, waiting for doors to okay my VIPA, to purchase the modifications. But, I'm ready to be driving tomorrow. Like, I don't want to lose what I've learned. Although, my driving teacher, his name is Tim, he's going to, come to my house once I get my vehicle, and we're going to do some driving sessions. But, I'm ready now.
A great idea.
I'm so excited. Like, it's like once, you set up this goal for yourself and you put everything in place. And when at the end, when you have completed that goal, it's the most amazing feeling in the world. And it could be, the little things like, for many years, I couldn't change my own catheter. But one day I was in here and I said, I'm tired of going to the doctors just to get this catheter changed. It takes 5 minutes, 2 hours there on transportation, 2 hours back. That's a whole day of work for me. And I said, you know what, God, we're doing this together. And I called my friend up and I said, look, this is what I'm doing. And you need to be on the phone. If you need to call an ambulance to come get a sister, I unlock the door so they can get in. And I changed my catheter. It took me 5 minutes, and I've been doing it ever since. I didn't know how to make grits. And so it's these little goals, and I'm in the kitchen now making me some grits.
Talk to the girl.
It's like, you set up these little goals for yourself to empower you to get to those bigger goals. But you're not doing yourself service if you're not setting up goals every day. Everybody can do something. Everybody can speak. Everybody can communicate. We may all do it different, but we all can communicate. You're worth it. You can.
Let me just say this, because we got about 3 minutes left in the show, but I might go about 2 minutes over because I think y'all can hear me for 2 minutes more. Shannon, I'm proud of you as well, because that takes effort, and it's draining. That son of a gun is draining, and it's great that you are going to continue getting driving sessions because you don't want to lose what you learn. Dr. Cohen told me, boy, and he said, look here, if you don't stay behind this wheel, you're gonna get right back where you was at.
Yeah, you have
to. So about 3-4 weeks, I went out there and I backed the car up 2 inches by myself. Never been in the car by myself. Backed that joker up 2 inches, went back in the parking spot. Backed it up 3 inches, went in the parking spot. People looking at me, wonder what the heck I'm doing. You got to start somewhere.
Yes.
When I'm by myself, I'm like, God, it's you and me. That's it.
Right.
I need protection around me, the vehicle, the kids, the parking lot, the playground. I'm praying out loud, backing that joker up, brakes squeaking. You know the noise it makes when you turn the wheel halfway and you ain't got it all turned to, and I'm just like, what is my car doing? I'm backing this joker up 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, back in the parking spot, 6 inches, back in the parking spot. I was like, okay, we 6 inches. I got to 10 inches. Some told me, drive around one time, just one time. I was like, parked it back, got out the car.
DJ, when I went for my actual driving test, again, it's COVID, so everybody, they're